When my son Alex placed the documents for a $500,000 mortgage in front of me and coldly said, "Dad, you've saved plenty. It's time to support us." I felt like I had raised a betrayer. My refusal enraged his wife, Sarah, and they sued me. They believed I was a vulnerable old man, but they had no clue that I was not one to be deceived. You won't believe what unfolded next. Before we proceed, please subscribe to the channel and share where you're listening from in the comments. The coffee cup halted midway to my lips as Alex slid the mortgage papers across my kitchen table. $500,000. The figure glared at me like an insult. "Dad, you've saved plenty," Alex stated, his tone detached and straightforward. Sarah didn't even glance up from her phone, browsing images of quartz countertops and tiled showers. "Look at this primary bedroom. Honey, 4 walk-in closets." She finally looked at me, her smile as sharp as shattered ice. "Isn't it ideal for building our family?" I placed my coffee down with measured composure. "What precisely are you requesting me to do?" "Sign," Alex replied, pointing at the papers with his finger. "Your credit rating. Our ideal home. Everyone benefits." The boldness struck me like a forceful impact. I had raised this young man, instilling in him the worth of money gained through genuine effort. Now he was in my kitchen, the very spot where I had provided him endless meals on a mechanic's wage, insisting I endanger all I had accumulated. "You're 68, Dad. What do you need all that cash for anyway?" Alex's gaze shifted away from mine, fixating on the documents instead. Sarah leaned in, her voice laced with artificial warmth. "Family supports family, Edward. That's what grandparents do. They contribute to their children's tomorrow." "Grandparents," I echoed gradually. "Well, eventually," she dismissed with a wave. "Once we're established in our new place. Naturally." I scanned the mortgage application. Noting their joint earnings clearly stated, Alex earned solid pay as a software engineer. Sarah worked half-time at a fashion store, expending more than she made on outfits and beauty sessions. Combined, they earned sufficient for a comfortable residence, just not this luxurious. "You earn $85,000 yearly together," I noted, indicating the earnings part. "This mortgage would cost $5,000 monthly. What lender approved this?" Alex's throat moved noticeably. "Dad, don't fixate on the specifics." "Specifics are important." I pushed the papers back over the table. "The answer is no." Quiet extended between us like a stretched cord. Sarah's phone dropped onto the table. "Excuse me." Her pitch rose. All facade of kindness vanished. "No. I won't co-sign for a property you can't manage." Alex's face flushed. "Are you for real right now after all we've done?" "What have you done?" The query emerged harsher than planned. But I was beyond worrying about bruised emotions. Sarah rose abruptly, her chair grating against the flooring. "We come see you. We involve you in our world. We genuinely care about maintaining ties with you. Unlike some offspring, visiting isn't payment." "Sarah?" "Oh, so now we see our place." Tears emerged in her eyes, the sort that appeared on cue. "I should have realized you'd pick wealth over your son's joy." Alex finally met my gaze, and what I observed there constricted my chest. Bitterness. Privilege. The lad who once assisted me in repairing neighbors' faulty engines at no charge was absent, replaced by this outsider who viewed me as merely a walking wallet. "Dad, you owe us this." he uttered softly. Those 5 words struck deeper than a strike. I owe you all the concessions we've made. What concessions? Sarah seized her bag, her actions abrupt and furious. Come on, Alex. We're squandering time here. Alex paused, glancing between his spouse and me. For an instant, I hoped a remnant of the child I'd nurtured might emerge. Instead, he collected the mortgage forms with trembling hands. You'll rue this, Dad. Sarah stopped at the entrance, turning with malice in her stare. Don't anticipate us continuing to act like we desire your presence when you clearly don't care about our prospects. The door closed forcefully enough to shake the frames. I remained solitary in my kitchen, gazing at the area where the documents had rested. My coffee had cooled, developing a thin layer on the surface. The residence felt altered somehow, more confined, more vacant. I lost my son that day, not to demise or separation, but to avarice and entitlement. Rising gradually, I proceeded to my office and retrieved a small journal from the desk compartment. My phone was already chiming when I opened the journal. Alex's name appeared on the display. I allowed it to go to voicemail, then observed as it promptly began again. On the 4th ring, I responded. What? Alex? His tone fractured with incredulity. That's all you say? Do you grasp what you just caused? I heard Sarah in the distance, her voice a severe murmur. Mention the appraisal cutoff. Tell him we'll forfeit the property. Dad, we have 72 hours to lock in funding, or we lose our down payment. $30,000 wasted, because you're self-centered. I'm being practical. Practical. Alex's chuckle was sour. You have 7 figures in retirement funds you'll never use. We're discussing our future. The phone shuffled, and Sarah's voice emerged clear and piercing. Edward, I'm sorry Alex is so agitated. This is truly difficult for us. Her manner had changed to injured and delicate. We've envisioned this home for weeks. We've structured our entire future on it. Then you should have structured better. I don't comprehend why you despise me so much. The phony tears returned in her tone. I adore your son. I want to provide him the existence he merits on my expense. It's not like that. This is an outlay in our family's tomorrow, your grandchildren's tomorrow. I noted the time and date, then began recording their words as they spoke. Grandchildren that don't exist yet. Alex reclaimed the phone. Dad, hear me out. We'll repay you with returns, with what funds you can scarcely cover your existing lease. Our incomes will rise. Will they, is that assured? Quiet lasted for several moments. Then Sarah took the phone once more. You know what? Edward, I'm finished being polite. Alex is too kind to say this, but I'm not. You're a self-absorbed old man who'll perish alone with all that wealth you're stockpiling. Don't expect us to rush over when you require us. The connection ended. I recorded her precise words, then reviewed my voicemail. 4 messages, each more urgent than the prior. I transcribed those as well, marking the times. My phone vibrated with a message from Alex. Dad, please rethink. This home means the world to us. 3 minutes later, another. We'll do whatever. Please. Then Sarah from her device. Edward. I uttered things I didn't intend. I was just distressed. Can we begin anew? Alex is weeping. You're shattering your son's spirit. Fine. Be that way. But don't come sobbing to us when you realize what you've forfeited. I captured each message on screen, forming a digital directory on my computer tagged proof. My phone rang again. This time my sister, Mary. Edward, what's happening? Alex just phoned me crying, saying you declined to aid them purchase a home. That's accurate. Well, why they're youthful. They require assistance starting out. Mary, did he mention it's a $500,000 home? Pause. He said it was their ideal residence. Did he note that I'd be co-signing a loan exceeding their yearly earnings? Longer pause. Well, no. But did he clarify that they've been scraping by despite decent earnings? Edward, you don't need to be so severe. I ended the call and added her to my record. Within 90 minutes, my brother Robert called, then my neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, then Alex's former college buddy, Chris, all with identical tales. Alex and Sarah were heartbroken, couldn't fathom why Dad was so merciless. Each interaction was logged. My phone hummed persistently through supper, message after message, switching between Alex's remorse inducements and Sarah's scheming. Dad, we examined cheaper properties, but they're all in rough areas. Edward, Alex hasn't consumed anything today. He's stressing himself ill over this. You're selecting money over your own offspring. How does that sit? We'll never request anything more. This is it. One favor. I'm expecting. That final text made me halt. I called Alex right away. Sarah says she's expecting. She might be. We haven't seen the physician yet. Alex, is she expecting or not? It's complex. Dad. No, it's straightforward. Yes or no, click. He disconnected. 45 seconds later. A message from Sarah. False alert on the pregnancy. Tension delays me occasionally. I added that to the dossier, emphasizing it in bold. By 11 p.m., I'd gotten 58 text messages and 15 voicemails, each one more frantic, more blaming, or more cunning than the last. They'd contacted everyone in my address book, depicting me as a stingy elder who valued cash over kin. But they'd also exposed their genuine natures in ways they hadn't grasped. The privilege, the deceit, the falsehoods. It was all recorded now. I powered off my phone, glanced at my journal brimming with their own phrases, and shut it. Tomorrow would deliver more of the same, but tonight I required rest. Rest evaded me. I lay in bed, fixating on the ceiling, recalling the boy Alex used to be. The silent home provided room to reflect, to follow the journey from that keen child to the outsider who claimed my life reserves. Alex at 12 perched on a crate in my garage, focus intense as he mastered a wrench. Dad, demonstrate again how to know if it's secure enough. His tiny hands, earnest and precise, copying my actions. Precisely. Alex at 19 commencement day, top of his university class, complete grant to the local college for information technology. I'd sat in that hall, overflowing with pride as he delivered a talk on diligence and persistence. My father showed me that anything valuable is worth laboring for, he'd declared, gazing directly at me. Alex at 23, his initial employment interview. He'd phoned afterward, voice quivering with thrill. Dad, they proposed $60,000 to begin. Can you imagine I'm going to earn more than you ever did? No spite in those terms, just delight and wonder. Back then, he'd grasped the value of an earned buck. The shift began gradually after he encountered Sarah at a professional event in New York. She was all Alex wasn't. Bold, ostentatious, insistent. Within weeks, he was operating a rented Mercedes he couldn't sustain, donning costly attire, eating at eateries that exceeded my monthly food budget. Dad, You must enjoy life a bit, he'd remarked when I'd voiced worry about his expenditures. Existence is too brief to hoard coins eternally. But it wasn't enjoying, it was performing. Sarah had lavish preferences and anticipated Alex to match them. When his pay couldn't extend to meet her demands, the appeals commenced. Dad, I need aid with lease this month. Just $600. My vehicle fix drained my funds. That was the initial. I'd provided it willingly, recalling my own strained periods as a youth. Then it was auto installments. The Mercedes lease increased. Dad, can you advance me $900 until my year-end reward? Then plastic debt. Sarah's dealing with health matters. Coverage doesn't include all, just $2,500 to tide us over. Each occasion I'd assisted. Each occasion Alex vowed it was short-term. Each occasion Sarah had an explanation. Sudden costs. Alex's position not compensating sufficiently. Brief obstacles that somehow turned enduring habits. I attempted offering guidance instead of funds. Son, perhaps consider a less costly unit. Alex's reply had been instant annoyance. Dad, I don't require sermons. I need support. Have you thought about financial planning sessions I'd proposed once? Sarah had chuckled, truly chuckled, and said, Edward, we're not in the 1960s. Folks our age don't tally cents, but the cents counted. I'd absorbed that teaching the tough way, laboring 70-hour weeks for 35 years, mending others' vehicles and transmissions, preserving every cent possible. I'd desired Alex to comprehend that money signified time, my effort, my existence. Instead, he perceived it as something that materialized magically, something he merited because we shared lineage. The marriage had been the tipping point I should have identified. Sarah desired perfection, custom gown, lavish location, unlimited drinks for 250 attendees. Alex had requested me to cover the videographer, then the decorations, then the getaway when their plastics reached limits. Dad, it's a unique occasion, he'd implored. We can't cut corners on our nuptials. I'd disbursed $18,000 for one day of festivities for two youths who hadn't saved a penny for their own prospects. I'd observed Sarah instruct the videographer like a celebrity, insisting on take after take until the woman appeared exhausted. 3 weeks later, they'd phoned from Maui in distress. Their resort bill surpassed expectations. Their rented vehicle had damage. They needed funds for the return flight. Another $4,000. This is the final time, Dad. I swear. But naturally, it wasn't. The pleas continued, each with a fresh crisis, a fresh rationale, a fresh assurance that this would conclude it. I'd enabled their carelessness, believing I was aiding my son, when actually I was forging a beast. Alex had learned that Dad would always deliver, always unlock his purse, always prioritize kin over fiscal wisdom. Now, they desired $500,000, not as an advance. They'd never truly returned anything they'd taken. As a present enveloped in the attractive wrapping of kin duty, the lad who'd mastered tools in my garage had become a man who regarded me as merely a tool himself, a method to obtain what he craved without deserving it. I rose from bed with fresh determination, returning to my office. The journal lay open on the desk, packed with yesterday's records of their torment campaign. I grasped my pen and initiated a new portion, behavior pattern, historical background. If they wished to play rough, they'd discover this old mechanic knew how to retaliate. Sunrise was piercing my office windows when I opened the journal with renewed resolve. 45 years of resolving issues had instructed me that the optimal way to halt a drip was to follow it to its origin and close the valve. Time to seal Alex and Sarah's entry to my funds forever. First, I needed to grasp precisely what I faced. I contacted Pacific Bank where Alex had referenced applying for the loan. Hi, this is Edward Thompson. My son Alex sought a housing loan with you as his possible co-signer. I'd like to comprehend the conditions. The loan specialist, Susan Miller, was assistive and detailed. Mr. Thompson, I must say, your son and daughter-in-law appear charming, but this loan is bold given their debt-to-income proportion. What sort of debt papers shuffled on her side? Credit lines, mainly, about $55,000 in circulating debt between them. Vehicle loans, education debts. Their monthly duties are already at 42% of gross earnings before this mortgage. $55,000 in plastic debt. They'd asserted to be fiscally accountable, just needing aid with this single buy. I noted every detail Susan disclosed. Next, I accessed Alex's online profiles, astonishing what folks revealed when they assumed only pals viewed. Last month, images from a getaway in Las Vegas. 4 weeks ago, Sarah's ladies' excursion to Miami, with premium flight snaps and luxury hotel views. 2 weeks ago, Alex's fresh entertainment system, readily $4,000 in gear. But per them, they couldn't manage food without assistance. I captured everything on screen, forming a chronology of costly acquisitions versus their poverty assertions. The proof was condemning. 2 individuals existing far past their resources, utilizing plastics to sustain a way of life they couldn't support, then anticipating me to finance their next monetary illusion. At 11 a.m., I phoned Jenkins and Partners, the legal group that managed my inheritance planning. Amanda Jenkins had assisted with my testament and pension funds. She knew precisely what I had to safeguard. Edward, nice to hear from you. What can I assist with? I described the circumstance meticulously, omitting the sentimental aspects and emphasizing facts. Amanda heard without disruption, sporadically posing clarifying queries about Alex's insists and warnings. Let me confirm I grasp, she said when I concluded. Your son and his wife want you to co-sign a loan that would bind you for $500,000 despite their current obligations and incapacity to handle the installments solo. That's right. And when you declined, they launched a campaign of torment and scheming, asserting you owe them this aid. Correct. Again, Edward, you must record everything, every ring, every message, every dialogue. If this intensifies legally, you'll require evidence of their conduct. Already begun. I leafed through my journal. I've got yesterday's talks transcribed, message captures, a tally of everyone they contacted to coerce me. Outstanding! Now, here's what you need to know about your legal stance. Amanda clarified that spoken vows meant zilch without evidence, that offspring had no lawful right to their parents' wealth, and that co-signing a loan rendered me wholly liable for the debt if Alex failed. The key is to have them confess their real motives on tape, if they're claiming this is about kin duty rather than commerce. Let them state it. If they're menacing to sever ties unless you pay, record that too. How do I get them on tape? California is a 2-party consent state for recording, but since you're involved, you can record without informing them in certain contexts. Check specifics. I installed a recording program on my device before my next chat with Alex. He rang at 1 p.m., precisely on time. Dad, I've reflected on yesterday. I was upset, said things incorrectly. I activated record. What things? Well, when I said you owed us, that emerged wrong. I meant kin aids, kin, So you don't believe I owe you anything? Well, Dad, you've got all this cash idle. We're your sole kin. Who else will it go to? Perhaps philanthropy. Sharp breath. Philanthropy. You'd give our legacy to outsiders. Your legacy. I maintained calm tone. Alex, I'm quite alive. That's not what I meant. Sarah's voice distant. Tell him about the property. We need a response today. Dad, we must know by 6:00 p.m. The vendors won't delay. Then you should secure funding you can truly manage. We can manage it. We just need you to co-sign because my credit dipped when Sarah was unemployed last year. When was she unemployed? Pause. It was several months. Look, that's not the issue. What's the issue, Alex? The issue is parents aid their kids. That's what families do by kindizing their fiscal safety. Shwo. You won't jeopardize anything. We'll handle every installment. With what funds, Susan Miller says you're carrying $55,000 in plastic debt. Utter quiet. Then Sarah's voice nearer. He contacted the bank. I warned you he would. Dad, you're probing us. Your own son. I'm shielding myself from a poor fiscal choice. This is astonishing. I'm your son. Yes, you are. And I raised you superior to this. The call concluded with Alex disconnecting on me. I halted the recording and stored it in my proof file. Tagging it, Alex admits inheritance expectation, verifies credit problems. My phone hummed with a message from Sarah. We know what you're up to, Edward. You won't escape this. I captured that too, then responded, escape what safeguarding my pension reserves. Her reply arrived instantly. Robbing our future. Alex merits that cash more than some arbitrary charity. Capture. Another fragment of proof revealing their true drive. By nightfall, I had 22 recorded dialogues, 52 messages, and a thorough fiscal outline of Alex and Sarah's status. They weren't merely fiscally irresponsible. They were illusory about wealth, convinced they merited whatever they desired just because they desired it. I sat in my office examining the expanding file of proof, sensing something I hadn't since yesterday morning. Command. They thought I was a bewildered elder who could be coerced into yielding. My phone hummed with another insistent message from Sarah, but this time I grinned as I captured it. Another addition to the mounting stack. The genuine conflict was just commencing. My phone rang at 8 a.m. Sharp. Mary's name on the screen tightened my gut. My sister never rang this early unless issues arose. Her voice held that cautious note she used for kin troubles. I heard it during Dad's last sickness, during Mom's burial plans, during my separation 25 years ago. I'm awake. What's up, Mary? Well, I received a call from Alex last evening. He was quite distressed. I sat firmly in my kitchen seat. I'll wager he was. He says you refuse to aid them acquire a home, that you have all this wealth unused and won't stir for your own son. She halted. Edward, that doesn't resemble you. Did he mention it's a $500,000 home, or that he wanted me to co-sign for a loan they can't sustain? Quiet stretched. When Mary spoke again, her tone was subdued. He said it was their perfect home, that you could readily afford to assist, but opted not to. Mary, they earn good pay. They've just expended every cent on lavish gadgets and journeys. Now they want me to hazard my pension so they can persist existing beyond their means. But Edward, he's your son. Yes, he is. And I raised him to be accountable. Evidently, that didn't adhere. After we disconnected, I knew it was merely the start. By midday, I'd received calls from my brother Robert, my cousin Lisa, and 4 kin friends, all with the same narrative. Alex and Sarah were shattered, couldn't comprehend why I was so callous, but it was online where they truly operated. I didn't use Instagram, but my neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, displayed Sarah's post when I met her at the postbox. Her screen showed a lengthy, sentimental piece about kin disloyalty and senior selfishness. Sarah had composed about their striving young kin being forsaken by Alex's affluent father, who declines to distribute his fortunes. The responses were harsh. Folks I'd known for years labeling me avaricious and unfeeling. Some parents overlook what kin signifies. Wealth can't purchase affection, but apparently it can purchase solitude. Mrs. Johnson appeared uneasy. Edward, I don't grasp what's occurring. They want me to co-sign a loan I can't help repay. Her puzzlement was authentic. But Alex drives that fine Mercedes. Didn't they just return from Maui? That afternoon, I visited Wilson's Supply for batteries. Sam Wilson, who'd given me discounts for 20 years, scarcely glanced up when I entered. The typical amicable talk was substituted by chilly proficiency. At the market, Carla, the register clerk who always inquired about Alex and his lovely spouse, processed my goods without a word. When I attempted chat, she gave me a glare that could solidify liquid. The murmurs trailed me everywhere. Cafe discussions that ceased when I neared. Past pals who abruptly found their footwear captivating when we crossed paths. The entire community was hearing one version of the tale, and that version depicted me as a parsimonious elder hoarding riches while his needy kids endured. My phone vibrated endlessly with captures from kind relatives. Alex had posted a picture of himself appearing worn and beaten with the title, "When Your Own Father Picks Wealth Over Kin." Sarah shared images of simple condos with notes about having to accept less because some value currency over their bloodline. But they committed a vital mistake. Their narrative was too flawless, too synchronized. I began recording everything: captures, preserved posts, taped voicemails from baffled kin. Each fragment displayed the same scheme: sentimental coercion designed to force me into compliance. When Alex's college pal, Chris, rang to sermonize about kin devotion, I posed a basic query. "Chris, do you think it's fair for a parent to risk their whole pension to co-sign a loan their child can't handle?" Extended pause. "Well, when you frame it that way, that's precisely what Alex requested me to do. $500, 000 for a property he can't pay for." "But Alex said you had ample wealth." "I have sufficient for my pension, not enough to rescue another's bad choices." By nightfall, my record folder had expanded considerably. Every online post, every guilt-inducing message, every scheming image revealed a distinct pattern of deliberate sentimental combat. I was at my computer arranging the proof when the official letter came. The sender address chilled my veins. Carter and Associates. Legal professionals. I acknowledged the envelope with firm hands, but my pulse raced as I returned to my kitchen table. The letter remained sealed before me while I investigated the firm online. Carter and Associates focused on senior fiscal rights and kin monetary conflicts. Their site showcased endorsements from grown kids who'd triumphantly litigated aged parents for vowed fiscal aid. My stomach sank. Alex and Sarah hadn't selected this firm haphazardly. They'd located attorneys who specialized in precisely what they planned to do to me. I opened the letter with intentional caution. The official wording couldn't mask the menace. Request for conference concerning fiscal duties and kin aid pledges. They desired me to visit their office to settle this issue peacefully before official actions become essential. I placed the letter aside and launched my computer. Time to comprehend exactly what I confronted. First, Alex's online profiles. Astonishing what folks disclosed when they thought only pals observed. I browsed months of entries, capturing everything. Alex's entertainment upgrade in March, easily $5,000. Sarah's wellness retreat in April, premium flights, and elite resort images. Their anniversary meal at the priciest eatery in San Francisco, with sparkling wine and snaps of $150 entrees. But 4 weeks ago, Alex had posted about battling to cover costs and hoping kin will assist us advance. Next, I phoned their condo management. "Hi, this is Edward Thompson. My son Alex rents unit 312. I'm considering aiding with his lease, but I want to know his payment record." The supervisor, likely thinking I was a bountiful dad, was cooperative. "Mr. Thompson has been delayed on lease 5 times this year, presently 3 months arrears, but we're collaborating with them." 3 months arrears on lease, but they'd taken a brief trip to Las Vegas just last month. Their expenditure priorities were evident. I delved further into open records. Alex's auto lease was $950 monthly for a Mercedes he didn't require. Sarah's plastic statements, visible via their shared budgeting tool they'd unwisely made open, displayed monthly fees at upscale shops, costly diners, elite fitness memberships. Their joint earnings were $85,000 yearly. Their observable spending surpassed $95,000. They were surviving on credit, hoping I'd rescue them when it crumbled. But the most telling find came from Alex's university pal, David, who rang me directly. "Mr. Thompson, David Lee. I knew Alex in school. Listen, I feel odd about this, but Alex approached me for cash last month, said his dad was being irrational about aiding with expenses. So, how much did he seek? $4,000. Same tale, brief obstacle, would reimburse soon. But Mr. Thompson, this is the 4th time in 3 years. I noted every detail. Alex and Sarah weren't just aiming at me. They were targeting everyone they knew, disseminating the same woes, playing the same sufferer role. By nightfall, I had a full view of their fiscal scheming. They had taken funds from at least 7 individuals in the past year, always with tales of short-term difficulty, never reimbursing anyone. They'd exhausted plastics, sustaining a lifestyle they couldn't support, then expected others to fund their recklessness. I phoned Amanda Jenkins and updated her on the situation. "Edward, this exceeds kin coercion. They're gearing up to litigate you. For what I never vowed anything. They'll assert you made verbal pacts to aid with big buys. In California, that could theoretically be binding if they prove it. But I didn't vow anything. I trust you. But they'll seek observers, craft a story of suggested vows, perhaps even claim you're experiencing age-linked confusion." The plan clarified. Assault my reliability. Assert I'd made vows I couldn't recall. Depict me as a muddled senior who'd reneged. The senior fiscal misuse expert would know precisely how to structure their argument. What do I do? Record everything. Tape every chat legally. Gather witnesses to your real statements. And Edward, start viewing this as conflict. They're not interested in kin harmony anymore. I disconnected and stared at my expanding proof file. Scores of captures, taped talks, fiscal logs, observer accounts from folks they'd tried to deceive. They wanted to engage in legal combat with a man who'd spent 45 years resolving issues systematically. They had no notion what they'd initiated. My phone rang. Alex's name flashed. I activated record and answered. Hello, son. Dad, we need to discuss. Can you come to the law office tomorrow at 3? We can resolve this. What exactly are we resolving? The cash you owe us. The vows you made about aiding kin. What vows? Alex. Don't play games. Dad, you know what you stated. No, I don't. Tell me precisely what I vowed and when. Quiet. Then Sarah's voice distant. He's attempting to fool you. Don't respond. Alex's tone returned, more unsteady. Just attend the meeting. Dad, 3:00 tomorrow. I'll be there. After I disconnected, I stored the recording and added it to my proof folder. Alex couldn't detail a single vow because none had been made. The next day brought another official letter. This one wasn't a meeting request. The envelope felt weightier than expected. I sat at my kitchen table, the same location where Alex had first insisted 3 weeks prior, and carefully unsealed the mail. Complaint for compensation. Alex Thompson and Sarah Thompson versus Edward Thompson. Some requested $500, 000 plus expenses and legal charges. My hand remained firm as I read each charge, but my fury intensified with every term. They claimed I'd made recurring verbal vows to assist with their significant acquisitions, that I'd fostered reasonable anticipations of fiscal aid through my words and deeds, that my abrupt denial constituted contract violation and had inflicted them intense sentimental and fiscal anguish. The most outrageous assertion came toward the conclusion. They alleged I was enduring age-related mental deterioration that caused me to forget vows to kin and necessitated court involvement to shield all involved. I placed the papers down and phoned Amanda Jenkins immediately. They initiated suit. $500, 000. I feared that. Edward, can you visit this morning? We need to debate tactics. An hour later, I sat in Amanda's office with the litigation spread across her meeting table. This is bold, she said, examining the files. They're employing every method available. Violation of verbal pact, promissory estoppel, even suggesting senior misuse. Senior misuse, they're the ones trying to pilfer my pension. That's the paradox. But Edward, they've selected their tactics carefully. They'll assert you made vows when witnesses were there, that you promoted their property search, that your sudden denial proves mental issues. What witnesses? I never vowed anything. Amanda drew out a notepad. Let's proceed methodically. Did you ever utter anything that could be seen as a pledge to aid fiscally? I pondered carefully. I said kin should support each other, but I meant sentimental backing, counsel, presence for one another. Were others present at times? At Alex's anniversary supper last year, I toasted about kin uniting. At holidays, I said I wanted them joyful and prosperous. They'll distort those declarations, make them sound like fiscal pledges. The extent of their preparation clarified. They'd been constructing this argument for months, perhaps years. Every kin assembly, every casual talk, every display of affection for my son had been listed as potential proof of fiscal vows. Amanda, they took funds from half a dozen folks with woe tales about needing aid. They're 3 months behind on lease, but just vacationed in Vegas. Their online shows opulent spending while claiming destitution. Her eyes brightened. That's our safeguard. We demonstrate they have a scheme of fiscal scheming and false assertions. Your records become vital proof of their deceit. We spent 3 hours plotting our reply. Counter-assertions for slander, torment, and misuse of procedure. Disclosure demands for their full fiscal logs, online accounts, and communications with others they'd borrowed from. Edward, This will become costly and messy. They're wagering you'll compromise rather than battle. I recalled the boy Alex used to be, aiding me in the garage, proud of honest labor. Then I thought of the privileged outsider who insisted on my life savings and was now attempting to steal it via courts. I'm not compromising. I want everyone to know precisely what sort of people they are. Then we combat fully, complete disclosure, character observers, fiscal review. We'll reveal their scheming pattern and prove no vows were made. I authorized the documents to formally reply and submit counter-assertions. The legal costs would be significant, but my honor was worth more than wealth. Amanda, I want to ensure the truth emerges publicly. I want their pals, kin, everyone to view the proof of what they've done. We'll submit everything in open court records, their fiscal recklessness, their falsehoods, their attempts to deceive you. It will all be documented. As I returned the authorized papers to her, I felt something I hadn't since this ordeal started. Total clarity about the struggle ahead. They thought they could frighten an old man into submission. They had no idea they'd declared war on someone who'd spent a lifetime resolving problems methodically, completely, and permanently. The restraints were off. Exiting Amanda's office, I drove to Wilson's Cafe, where I've had coffee for 25 years. Time to confront the community with dignity and the facts in hand. Maria, the server who'd been distant lately, seemed hesitant when I entered. She'd clearly heard Alex and Sarah's version, but was too courteous to be openly rude to a regular patron. Coffee, Edward. Please, Maria. And could I show you something? I produced copies of Alex's online posts, the Vegas getaway images, the costly entertainment setup, the opulent meals, beside his poverty claims. Maria's look changed as she examined the timeline. Wait. He posted about struggling with lease the same week he was in Vegas. That's correct. And here's his condo supervisor's statement about 3 months' arrears. Her expression solidified. Edward, I owe you an apology. When Sarah came in sobbing about how you wouldn't aid kin, I felt awful for her. But this, she motioned at the proof. This is different. Word circulated swiftly in a small community. By afternoon, I displayed the documented proof to Sam Wilson at the supply store, Pastor Rivera at Holy Cross, and Gloria the archivist. Each discussion was serene, factual, and ruinous to Alex and Sarah's story. I don't spread rumors, I told each individual, but I thought you should see the real facts. The elegance of truth is its steadiness. Alex and Sarah's tale had sentimental draw, but disintegrated under examination. My proof narrated a clear, recorded story that matched what people were starting to observe themselves. Mrs. Johnson halted me at the post box that evening. Edward, I've been pondering what we discussed. Alex drives a finer car than my spouse, and we're both employed. How exactly are they struggling? That's a valid query. Dorothy, perhaps you should ask Sarah next time she posts about their destitution online. The online backlash was magnificent. Sarah's sentimental posts about kin betrayal had initially earned compassion, but folks began verifying facts. Comments started emerging under her poverty claims. Weren't you just in Miami last month? That's a nice Mercedes Alex drives for someone who can't afford a home. Edward Thompson has been nothing but generous to this community. Something doesn't add up. Sarah tried intensifying with increasingly theatrical posts about senior selfishness and shattered vows, but her excessive victim story began to backfire. People recognized scheming when they saw it plainly. The market provided the most gratifying affirmation. Carla, The clerk who'd given me the cold shoulder pulled me aside during payment. "Mr. Thompson, I feel dreadful about how I treated you. But after viewing those online posts next to Alex's vacation images, well, I have eyes. No damage. Carla, people got partial info. My daughter noted that Alex's entertainment computer costs more than I earn in 3 months, and he's claiming he can't afford food. The isolation Alex and Sarah had tried to impose on me was reversing quickly. Former backers started distancing, posing awkward questions about the inconsistencies between their claims and lifestyle. I encountered Alex's ex-supervisor at the fuel station. "Edward, Alex stopped by seeking cash last week. Said his dad was being unreasonable about a minor loan. But the litigation papers are public now. $500,000 isn't exactly minor." "No, it isn't." Makes one wonder what else wasn't truthful in that talk. The beauty of my method was its moderation. I never assaulted Alex and Sarah personally, never called them deceivers or pilferers. I simply offered documented facts and let folks conclude. The proof spoke louder than any sentimental plea. By week's end, the shift in community view was profound. People who'd initially empathized with the struggling young pair were now questioning everything told. Alex and Sarah's support circle wasn't just fading, it was actively opposing them. My phone rang at 9 p.m. Alex's name on the screen, but his tone was unsteady when I answered. "Dad, can we meet somewhere private, just us two?" The assurance was absent. The privileged insists had been replaced by something resembling dread. "What did you envision?" "Perhaps Brewhaven tomorrow morning, 11:00. I think we need to resolve something." I smiled, knowing he couldn't see. The suit had been filed. The community had seen the proof, and their fabrication house was crumbling around them. "I'll be there. Alex." The boy who thought he could intimidate his father with attorneys and social coercion was about to learn that truth prevails ultimately. Alex's voice scarcely resembled my son's anymore. The confident privilege had fractured, replaced by something perilously near panic. "Brewhaven. Dad, 11:00 a.m. Please." I sat in my office, noting how he'd abandoned the insists and menaces. But when I arrived at the modest cafe the next morning, Alex was absent. Instead, he'd chosen Lakeside Park, the same spot I'd taught him to cycle 30 years ago. He sat slumped on a seat, appearing older than his 37 years. "Dad." He rose swiftly, anxiously. "Thanks for coming." The costly clothes remained, but they couldn't conceal the stress marks around his eyes or the slight tremble in his hands when he motioned. This wasn't the haughty young man who demanded my pension reserves 3 weeks prior. "You look weary, Alex." "Yeah, well," he laughed without mirth. "Things have been complex lately." We sat on opposite ends of the seat where I'd once propelled him on swings. The irony wasn't missed. "Dad, I think this entire matter has escalated too far." I waited. Let him speak. "The suit, the attorneys, all this turmoil. Maybe we can arrange something. You know, just among us." "What kind of arrangement?" Alex's throat bobbed. "If we withdraw the suit, perhaps you could aid with something smaller. Not the full home, but maybe a deposit. 25-35-000. The bargaining tactics were pitiful. Start elevated. Get denied. Return with a lesser insist, hoping it appears sensible comparatively." "Alex, where's Sarah?" His face tensed. "She didn't want me to meet you. Said it displayed frailty." "What do you think?" "I think I'm sinking." Dad. The words emerged, choked. Our plastics are exhausted. The car installment's 4 months delayed. The legal costs alone are devastating us. I drew my phone and activated record. Tell me about your fiscal status, son. Why are you... He halted, seeing the device. Are you taping me? Yes, for my safeguard. Alex stared at the gadget, then seemed to collapse entirely. We owe $55,000 on plastics. The Mercedes lease is $1,500 a month. I fibbed about the installment. Sarah's expenditures it's uncontrolled. But I can't halt her. The confessions flowed like fluid from a ruptured line. The Vegas excursion cost $10,000 they lacked. Sarah's purchasing habit had depleted their reserves thrice in the past year. They'd borrowed from 7 different folks with lies about brief hardships. We never anticipated you'd contest the suit, Alex said, his tone empty. Our attorney said most seniors compromise rather than endure court stress. Your attorney was mistaken. Dad, the disclosure process. They want our full fiscal logs, online accounts, everything. When folks see what we truly expend versus what we asserted, he concealed his face in his hands. We're going to be fully revealed. The lad who'd once aided me mend faulty transmissions was confessing to organized deceit and scheming. I felt something frigid settle in my chest. Not rage anymore, but a sort of objective separation. Alex, did you really believe I'd made vows to pay for your home? Long halt. Sarah said you did. She said when you spoke about kin aiding kin, you were making pledges. And what do you think now? He looked up with reddened eyes. I think I've been a fool. I think I let my wife persuade me to ruin my bond with my father for cash we never merited. The admission should have stirred me. A month prior. It might have. Now it just sounded like another scheming effort. What do you want from me, Alex? I want to retract it all. The suit, the things we said about you, the whole chaos. Can we just overlook this occurred? I stood from the seat, looking down at my son. No, Alex, we can't. But Dad, the suit. You accused me in court files of mental decline, pact violation, senior misuse. You tried to pilfer my pension reserves through legal deceit. His face collapsed. I was desperate. So was I. Alex, desperate to understand how I raised a son who could do this to his own father. I walked away, leaving him on the seat where I'd once taught him honesty, hard work, respect for others, all lessons he'd evidently forgotten. Driving home, I felt vacant rather than triumphant. The frightened young man in the park bore little likeness to the assured boy I'd nurtured. But it wasn't my role to rescue him from repercussions he'd earned. Pulling into my driveway, I noticed a familiar vehicle parked opposite. Sarah sat at the wheel, observing my house with predator intensity. Our eyes met through her glass, and the loathing in her gaze was pure and unfiltered. I entered and phoned Amanda Jenkins to report the monitoring. 3 days after Sarah's monitoring, I received the court alert. The session was scheduled for Friday morning. Judge Emily Roberts presiding. I spent Tuesday organizing my proof files one last time. Every capture, every taped dialogue, every fiscal document was tagged, cataloged, and prepared for display. Amanda had been astonished by my preparation's thoroughness. Edward, in 35 years of practice, I've never seen a defendant with superior records. They stepped into a snare of their own creation. Friday morning arrived cloudy and chilly. Matching the gravity ahead, I attired in my finest suit, the one I'd worn to Alex's university commencement, and reached the courthouse 45 minutes early. Alex and Sarah were there, clustered with their counsel near the scanners. Sarah wore a costly Navy outfit that likely exceeded some folks' weekly pay. Alex's attire appeared fresh and custom. They still enacted successful young experts, even as their fiscal realm crumbled. Their lawyer, Michael Carter, was a polished man in his 50s, with impeccably groomed hair and a pricey case. He'd built his repute on these kin fiscal disputes, persuading seniors to compromise rather than face public shame. He was about to learn not all seniors were easily cowed. "Mr. Thompson." Judge Roberts ordered the room with sharp efficiency. She was a strict woman in her 60s, known for scant tolerance of baseless suits. Carter rose to present Alex and Sarah's argument. His tone was fluid, rehearsed, meant to evoke sympathy for his young clients betrayed by fractured kin vows. "Your Honor, my clients have proof of repeated spoken pledges from the defendant to aid with major kin buys. Mr. Alex Thompson will attest that his father explicitly vowed to help with their initial home acquisition, fostering reasonable expectations of aid." Alex took the stand, his voice unsteady as he recounted talks that never occurred. Per his account, "I'd made specific vows at kin meals, anniversary events, and holiday assemblies to ensure they got their perfect home. It was total invention." And I watched the judge's look grow doubtful as Alex faltered through his prepared falsehoods. Sarah's account was worse. She wept theatrically about their shattered visions and senior betrayal, claiming I'd urged them to view pricey homes because I pledged to assist with the buy. "Mr. Thompson told us repeatedly that kin cares for kin," she said through contrived tears. "He said our joy was his focus, and that he had more wealth than he could ever expend." Judge Roberts' expression stayed impartial, but I noticed her noting during the most sentimental parts of Sarah's act. Then it was Amanda's turn. "Your Honor, the defendant has prepared a full response to these charges, backed by broad records." I took the stand and calmly recounted the actual events. No dramatic sentiments, no theatrical motions, just facts, dates, and taped talks. Amanda presented our proof systematically. Alex's online posts showing opulent spending while claiming destitution. Plastic statements revealing their true fiscal state. Taped calls where they admitted their scheming strategies. The room was silent as my recording of Alex played, "We never thought you'd contest the suit. Our attorney said most seniors compromise rather than endure court stress." Carter objected repeatedly, but the tapes were lawful and the proof devastating. The fiscal timeline was especially condemning. While claiming inability to afford food, Alex and Sarah had spent $52,000 on luxury buys in the past year. Judge Roberts reviewed the proof with increasing disbelief. When Amanda finished, the judge leaned forward and posed the query that ended it all. "Mr. Carter, where's the written proof of this alleged vow? Any contract, any documented pact, any recorded evidence that your client was assured $500,000 for a home purchase?" Carter stuttered. "Your Honor, many kin agreements are spoken. I'm not asking about kin agreements. I'm asking about written proof of a specific vow to provide $500,000 for a home purchase." Silence. "There is none, Your Honor." Judge Roberts' expression hardened. "So, you're asking this court to order an elderly man to pay $500,000 based entirely on the testimony of two people who, according to the evidence presented, have systematically lied about their financial situation, manipulated family members, and attempted to defraud their own father." The room buzzed with tension. Alex and Sarah looked stunned. "Your Honor, I request a short break to consult with my clients. Granted. 20 minutes. As the judge departed, Amanda whispered, "We've won, Edward, utterly." But I wasn't watching my counsel's joy. I was watching Alex's total collapse as reality struck. Judge Roberts returned with an expression that could freeze flames. Alex and Sarah sat stiff, their costly attire now seeming like disguises in a failed performance. "I've examined all evidence in this case," Judge Roberts began, her voice heavy with final verdict. "This court finds the plaintiff's claims not only meritless, but deliberately fraudulent." Alex's face paled. Sarah gripped the table, her knuckles white. "The evidence from the defendant shows a clear pattern of financial scheming, intentional misrepresentation, and attempted fraud. The plaintiffs have offered no credible proof of any vow, written or spoken, to provide $500,000 for a home purchase." The judge's tone sharpened. "Furthermore, the evidence indicates the plaintiffs maintained expensive lifestyles while claiming poverty, borrowed money from multiple sources under false pretenses, and systematically tried to manipulate elderly family members for financial gain." I sat motionless, feeling profound satisfaction as justice unfolded properly. The plaintiff's lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. The defendant's counterclaims for defamation, harassment, and abuse of process are granted fully. Carter tried to speak. "Your Honor, if we could—" "I'm not done, counsel." Judge Roberts' tone cut like metal. "The court awards the defendant full reimbursement of legal fees in the amount of $35,000 plus court costs and punitive damages of $20,000 for the emotional distress caused by this baseless action." Alex made a gasping sound. $55,000 they lacked, atop their existing legal costs. "Additionally," the judge continued, "this court is referring the case to the district attorney's office for investigation of potential perjury charges. Lying under oath is a serious offense, and this court does not tolerate fraud." Sarah erupted in tears. Genuine ones now, not the fabricated emotion from earlier. Alex sat frozen, staring ahead like a man witnessing his life implode. Finally, the court issues a protective order barring the plaintiffs from contacting the defendant directly or via others, from nearing his home, and from making further public statements about this matter. Judge Roberts looked straight at Alex and Sarah. "You tried to use this court to steal from your own family. You have shamed yourselves, wasted public resources, and committed perjury here. I hope the consequences teach you the difference between legal action and legalized theft." The gavel struck decisively. In the corridor outside, journalists had assembled. News of the intense case had spread. Alex and Sarah rushed past with heads lowered. But several locals I knew waited to speak with me. "Mr. Thompson, how do you feel about the decision?" asked Laura from the town paper. I considered before replying. "I feel justice was delivered today. Family bonds should build on love and respect, not financial scheming. I hope this messages that seniors won't be bullied by threats or suits from those wanting something unearned." "Mrs. Johnson approached with moist eyes. "Edward, I'm so sorry. I believed their lies. I should have known better." "No harm. Helen, people got incomplete info." Alex appeared suddenly beside me, face desperate. "Dad, please, can we talk? I know I erred." I looked at my son, this stranger in Alex's form, feeling only weary sorrow. "You heard the judge. Alex, there's a protective order. Don't breach it." I walked past without more words, Amanda beside me, stepping into the bright sun outside. Behind, I heard Sarah's voice rising angrily. "This isn't over. We'll appeal. We'll—" Carter's sharp reply cut her. "You'll do nothing. You're fortunate not to be detained now." I drove home leisurely, taking the extended path past the home Alex and Sarah could no longer sustain. A vivid red sale sign had emerged in the yard, likely posted that morning post-hearing. I didn't decelerate, but allowed a small grin. Justice delivered. My driveway never felt more inviting. I sat in my car minutes, watching my home, my haven that Alex and Sarah tried to seize via legal theft. The afternoon light made the windows shine amber, everything peaceful as it hadn't for months. My phone buzzed with congratulatory notes. The court win spread through the town faster than lottery news. Maria from the cafe. "Edward, so proud of your handling. Takes true bravery to stand for right." Sam Wilson. "Coffee's complimentary forever. You showed this town integrity." Pastor Rivera, "Justice with grace. Your parents would be proud." By evening, over 50 messages from friends, neighbors, even strangers aware of the case. The community briefly turned against me now stood firmly supportive, angry at being deceived. Mrs. Johnson brought a stew. "Edward, I felt foolish believing their story, but watching you manage with class, you're inspiring." The lasting effects for Alex and Sarah clarified over following weeks. Their home foreclosed days after judgment. The Mercedes was seized. Their online profiles vanished, likely to evade comments from those knowing the truth. Via shared contacts, I learned they'd relocated with Sarah's parents in Arizona, utterly shamed and fiscally ruined. Alex lost his position. His employer disliked the bad publicity from the perjury probe. The legal costs, court damages, and credit destruction meant recovery for years. They'd wagered everything on intimidating an old man and lost grandly. Did I feel remorse for Alex's outcomes? Not momentarily. Every misfortune was direct from choices made. I hadn't ruined their finances. I'd simply refused to rescue from their recklessness. The wider lessons settled like post-storm residue. Truth triumphs over scheming, but only if you fight. Dignity and principle deserve defense even at high cost. Family devotion must earn through respect and mutual. Can't demand via guilt or menaces. Most vital, saying no to exploiting kin isn't cruelty. It's essential boundary that protects all. My life advanced lighter than years. The stress of next demand gone forever. Community respect deepened. New bonds formed with those watching my integrity. My church requested I address seniors on guarding from fiscal scheming. The local paper wrote an opinion on my case as textbook, how truth and patience overcome lies and avarice. 4 months post-victory, gardening when Amanda Jenkins called. "Edward, Alex and Sarah's counsel sanctioned by state bar for knowingly filing baseless suit, and DA prosecutes for perjury." I continued seeding pepper plants as she spoke. The soil rich, dark, ideal for healthy growth while extracting weeds. Likely outcome: probation, service, permanent records, nothing jailing, but enough everyone knows attempted. After disconnecting, I sat back, surveying neat plant rows feeding me through seasons. Garden metaphor for life: nurture healthy, remove harmful, trust good grows from patient work. Alex like weed, choking peace, draining resources for growth. Removing painful but needed. Phone rang, another friend checking, inviting dinner, sharing talk. Community briefly shunned, now embraced warmly. Finally free to be honest. Diligent. generous to deservers, unwilling to reward greed or scheming, sun setting over garden, golden light. Tomorrow plant more, tend blooms, build peaceful life earned through honest work. Justice delivered, kin protected, truth victorious, sometimes hardest battles with closest, but sometimes needed to guard what matters. I was at peace. If you enjoyed the story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left.